Welcome to Lead with Clarity. This is a space for leaders who want to grow without losing themselves in the process. Each episode is a short reflection on leadership, influence, and the inner work that shapes how we show up for others. It's not hype, not noise, just clear thinking for the journey of leading well. Today's episode is entitled Teamwork is the Advantage, What Patrick Lencioni Got Right. Here we go. We spend a lot of time in leadership circles talking about competitive advantage, which market to enter, what technology to adopt, where to deploy capital. Those are important conversations, but they often miss the thing that determines whether any of it actually works. Today I want to start with a challenge to that thinking. Patrick Lencioni said this: not finance, not strategy, not technology. It is teamwork that remains the ultimate competitive advantage. Not finance, not strategy, not technology, but teamwork. That is a significant claim from someone who has spent his career inside the most complex organizations in the world, and I think he means every word of it. Here's what I've seen firsthand working with executive teams. You can have the best strategy document money can buy. You can have world-class technology and strong financials. But if the people responsible for executing that strategy don't fully trust each other, the plan degrades at every handoff. Every ambiguous decision gets delayed. Every difficult conversation gets avoided. Every deadline that slips gets quietly absorbed rather than honestly surfaced. And what you're left with isn't a strategy problem, it's a team problem that strategy can't fix. The organization that solves for cohesion doesn't just execute better, it moves faster, it recovers quicker, and it makes better decisions at every level. The misread here is that teamwork is a soft concept, that it's the HR conversation you have at an offsite, that it's trust falls and working styles assessments. Leaders who dismiss Lencioni's framing as idealistic are usually the same ones puzzled by why their strategy doesn't translate. They assume the gap is analytical. More data, better models, tighter projections. But the gap is almost always relational. Teamwork is not the absence of conflict. It's the presence of enough trust to have real conflict productively. Here's a reframe. Teamwork isn't a cultural nicety. It's an operational asset. When a team can tell each other the truth, decisions get made once and they stick. When people own outcomes rather than just tasks, there's no room for finger pointing that costs organizations months of rework. When accountability exists peer-to-peer and not just top-down, you don't need a manager in every room to keep things moving. That kind of team is genuinely hard to replicate. Finance can be matched. Technology can be bought. You cannot buy a team that trusts each other. You have to build it. And you have to protect it deliberately. So here's what I'd ask you to sit with after this episode. Where in your organization is alignment being performed rather than practiced? Where are people nodding in the meeting and then doing something different in the hallway? What conversation isn't being had right now because the trust required to have it doesn't exist? Those gaps don't fix themselves, and the longer they go unaddressed, the more expensive they become. Lencioni's insight cuts at something most leadership frameworks skip. They optimize for the inputs, the capital, the process, the talent acquisition. What he's pointing to is the connective tissue, the thing that either makes every other advantage work or quietly neutralizes it. Finance gives you resources. Strategy gives you direction. Technology gives you leverage. Teamwork determines whether any of it moves. Build the team first, the advantage follows.